Some love stories never end. They just wait for the right time to begin again. The screen glows softly with the golden haze of Los Angeles at sunset. The city hums, the streets buzz, and the skyline shines like a promise. But this isn't just any city. This is where it all began. A love story the world never forgot, now ready for a new chapter. The screen opens with a slow pan across the city of Los Angeles. Neon signs flicker. Palm trees sway against the evening sky. The music is soft, familiar, but carries a new depth. Like time has passed and memories have grown heavier, a limousine pulls up to the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. The camera never shows a face. Only the polished shoes stepping out, the hand fixing a cufflink, the briefcase clicking shut. The voiceover carries the weight of nostalgia. Once, a man with everything met a woman with nothing, and together, they found love in the most unexpected place. We hear faint echoes of laughter from the past, whispers of lines we know so well, and invisible memory lingering in the air. The hotel door opens, and inside, the world feels the same yet changed. Time has marched on. Edward, once the man who thought only of business, has returned to the city that gave him more than deals and dollars. It gave him a chance at love, across town. The camera cuts to a quiet boutique. A woman's hands carefully fold silk scarves, her fingers lingering as though they're touching more than fabric. They're touching the threads of her own past. The heels of her shoes tap gently on the wooden floor. We never see her face, but the sway of her movement, the grace in her walk leaves no doubt Vivian is here. Older, wiser, but still carrying the spark that once turned an ordinary sidewalk into a fairy tale runway. The music grows. The city feels alive again, like it's holding its breath for something it knows is coming. It's been 35 years since their worlds collided. 35 years since a chance encounter changed two lives forever. But love has a way of finding its way back. The screen fades to black, only the sound of a heartbeat remains. Then the words appear on screen, bold and certain. A second chance. The trailer doesn't rush. It lets the audience breathe. In the silence, letting anticipation grow. Viewers know these two souls, even without seeing their faces. They know the weight of history, the power of memory, and the pull of destiny. The section closes with Edward standing alone at the balcony of his hotel suite, looking out over Los Angeles. In the distance, the Hollywood sign glimmers in the night. Cut to Vivian, standing at her own balcony across town, staring at the very same sign. Two silhouettes, two hearts, two stories, waiting to meet again. Pretty Woman 2, a second chance? Because love never gets old. Asterisk, the screen is silent at first, then a gentle sound of waves crashing against the Santa Monica Pier fades in. The camera glides over the ocean, blue and endless, before pulling back to reveal the boardwalk alive, with tourists, music, and laughter. It's the same pier from years ago, but now it carries the weight of decades. The lights are brighter, the rides modernized, but the feeling, the magic of possibilities remains untouched. A faceless silhouette of a woman walks slowly along the wooden planks, her heels clicking with each step. She pauses, watching children run past with cotton candy, their laughter echoing. The camera focuses on her hands gripping the pier railing, the breeze lifting her hair slightly. She doesn't need words. The silence tells her story. This is Vivian, now older, her life having taken turns unseen. Yet in her stillness, there is a longing. The music shifts to a soft piano melody. A voiceover begins, low and filled with memory. Time changes many things. Dreams shift, people grow. But some connections remain untouched by the years. The screen cuts to Edward, his figure framed in the dim light of his hotel suite. Papers are spread across the table. Business never left him, but he pauses, leaning back in his chair, staring at an old photograph tucked in his wallet. The camera doesn't show the picture fully, only the corner of a smiling face, enough to hint that Vivian has never left his heart. He closes the wallet slowly, as though afraid of losing her all over again. Quick flashes cut across the screen. Like memories, Vivian laughing in a cafe surrounded by friends. Edward giving a speech in a boardroom, his words sharp but his eyes distant. Vivian walking down Rodeo Drive once again, no longer the outsider, but a woman who has earned her place. Edward seated in the back of a sleek car, watching the world outside blur past him, the pace builds. She found her strength in a world that once doubted her. He built an empire but lost the warmth of home. Now, after years apart, fate is ready to test them again. The screen shows a letter sliding under Vivian's boutique door. She picks it up carefully, her hands trembling just enough to show the weight of what it carries. The camera lingers on the embossed gold lettering, the Wilshire Foundation Gala. Her eyes scan the invitation. She doesn't speak, but a single exhale says, "Everything memories are rushing back." Cut to Edward, fastening his tie in a mirror. He stares at his reflection longer than necessary, as if questioning whether the man he became is still worthy of the woman he once loved. His hand hesitates before he picks up his cufflinks, the same pair he wore the first night they met. The city begins to glow brighter. The music swells into strings and gentle drums, a heartbeat building into destiny. When paths cross once more, will old wounds open? Or will love find its way through the years of silence? Vivian steps out of her boutique into the evening, her silhouette framed by the lights of the street. At the same time, Edward walks through the grand entrance of the hotel. The shots cut back and forth, two separate lives, two directions. Yet a magnetic pull draws them closer. The trailer holds suspense. The audience expects them to meet, but it delays the moment. Instead, the screen fades to black, leaving only their footsteps echoing in opposite directions, like parallel lines. Finally bending toward each other, the words appear on screen, glowing softly. Some stories never end. A final glimpse. Vivian standing at the base of the gala's marble staircase, her hand on the railing, frozen in thought. Cut to Edward just beyond the ballroom doors, adjusting his suit one last time before entering. The music cuts out completely, leaving only silence, as if the world is holding its breath, and then darkness. Pretty Woman 2, A Second Chance. Love returns in 2025. The silence of the ballroom shatters with the sound of camera flashes. Paparazzi swarm outside the Grand Wilshire Foundation Gala, their voices colliding into a storm. "Over here!" Vivian, smile. Edward. Who's the mystery guest? The screen flickers with quick cuts of faceless figures moving through the chaos shadows under bright lights. For a story once born in whispers, the world is watching now. Inside the ballroom, the golden chandeliers shine like the stars of old Hollywood. The crowd is glamorous, buzzing with champagne laughter. But amid the sea of gowns and tuxedos, two presences stand out apart yet drawn. Vivian at the edge of the room, her posture strong, but her fingers nervously tracing the edge of her clutch. Edward across the hall, his hand gripping a glass of wine, untouched, his eyes fixed on the woman he thought he'd never see again. The voiceover lowers, steady and heavy. Love doesn't fade with years, but time leaves behind questions, regrets, and wounds that never healed. A faceless dance begins in the center of the ballroom. Couples swirl in rhythm, but the camera lingers only on Edward and Vivian, standing apart. The music of the waltz blends with the pounding of a heartbeat. Their eyes meet, not shown directly, but implied through cuts of gestures, his hand twitching slightly, her breath catching as if pulled by invisible gravity. Then, a cut, the screen darkens. The sound of rain against a window replaces the music. Vivian sits alone in her boutique, her hands shaking as she opens a small velvet box. Inside rests a necklace, not the one Edward once gave her, but another, unopened, a gift she could never accept. Her face is hidden, but her stillness tells of choices made long ago, choices that cost her more than she admits. Cut to Edward in his hotel room. He's on the phone, voice firm, commanding, as though decades of business have made him sharper, colder. But when he hangs up, his mask cracks. He walks to the balcony, staring at the lights of Los Angeles below, whispering under his breath not words of business, but of regret. He had built a kingdom of power, but without her, it was always empty. She had built a life of strength, but in the quiet, her heart still carried his name. The trailer surges with quick, powerful images, Vivian pulling away from Edward's outstretched hand at the gala. Edward walking alone down the hotel hallway, his footsteps echoing with guilt. A news headline flashing across the screen. Billionaire returns to Los Angeles, but why now? Vivian standing in the rain, tears mixing with the storm as, though the city itself cries with her, the voiceover sharpens, cutting like glass. What happens when old love meets new scars? When memories collide with the lives they built apart, the tension deepens. A heated argument unfolds, not shown through faces, but through shadows and silhouettes. Edward's figure stands tall, hands gesturing sharply. Vivian's form turns away, shoulders tense, her body language screaming with pain. Their words are muted, unheard by the audience, but the fury and heartbreak are unmistakable. The music crescendo, strings tightening, drums pulsing like a racing heartbeat. Then, silence, a single shot, Vivian's hand against a glass window. Her reflection blurred by raindrops. The city lights shine on the other side, unreachable. She whispers softly, her voice barely audible. Maybe it's too late. The screen fades to black. A long pause. Then Edward's voice, broken but determined, cuts through the silence. No, not for us. The audience is left suspended between hope and despair. The trailer refuses to give answers, only more questions. The final image of this section, the Hollywood sign once more, this time shrouded in mist. Beneath it, two figures stand apart, Edward and Vivian close enough to touch. Yet still worlds away, the words appear on screen, glowing against the mist. The heart remembers. The music returns, faint but rising, promising that the story is far from over. Pretty Woman 2, a second chance, where love and pain walk hand in hand. Asterisk, the screen opens with dawn over Los Angeles. The skyline glows soft gold, washing away the storm of the night before. The city feels calmer, as if it too has taken a deep breath. A slow piano melody plays, gentle and full of possibility. We see Vivian walking through the streets early in the morning, long before the city fully wakes. Her silhouette is framed against boutique windows, the reflection of dresses shimmering like ghosts of choices past. She stops at one window, resting her hand against the glass. Her breath clouds the reflection, and for a moment, she whispers to herself words the audience barely hears. Who am I without him? Who am I with him? The line hangs in the air, fragile but full of truth. Cut to Edward sitting alone on a park bench with the Los Angeles Times folded beside him. He isn't reading the business section, but the art's something he never cared for before. The sound of children's laughter echoes in the background as families pass by. He watches them with quiet longing, his polished shoes dusty from the dirt path beneath him. For the first time, he isn't the man in control, he is just a man, searching for a way back to the only woman who ever made him feel whole. The voiceover grows softer, tender. Love is not about the years lost, but about the courage to begin again. The screen fills with a montage of hope, Vivian laughing again with her friends at the cafe, her walls slowly breaking. Edward placing the velvet box with the necklace on his desk, staring at it as though rehearsing the words he'll someday say. The Hollywood sign glowing in daylight, no longer shrouded in mist, but standing tall like a beacon. Vivian holding an old letter, her hands trembling, not because of fear, but because of love resurfacing. The music rises, shifting from melancholy strings to something brighter, lifting like wings ready to soar. Then comes the moment the audience has been waiting for. The grand staircase of the Wilshire Foundation Gala is shown again, but this time in silence. Vivian walks slowly down the steps, her heels clicking like a heartbeat. At the same time, Edward climbs the stairs from below. The camera cuts back and forth, each step closing the distance between them. They stop at the middle, face to face. Though faceless to us, their presence radiates emotion. They walked away once, but destiny has given them one last chance. Vivian's silhouette trembles, her head slightly bowed as if unsure whether to look up. Edward's shadow leans closer, his hand hesitating in the air. The world seems to freeze. The camera captures tiny details, the slight shake of his hand, the rise of her breath, the pause before everything changes. Finally, her hand reaches out. Their fingers touch, slowly, carefully, like the first note of a long-lost song returning after years of silence. The music swells into a triumphant orchestral wave. The trailer erupts into a joyful montage. Edward and Vivian dancing facelessly under the chandeliers. Laughter on the Santa Monica Pier, her scarf blowing in the wind as he reaches to hold it in place. A stolen kiss under the neon glow of a Los Angeles streetlight. Vivian walking beside Edward, her hand brushing his. The spark undeniable even after decades, the voiceover, steady and warm, delivers the final line, because love never grows old. It only waits for us to be ready. The screen fades to black. Then, in bold letters across the silence, Pretty Woman 2, A Second Chance, coming 2025. The last image is simple, powerful, unforgettable. A single red rose lying on the steps of the Beverly Wilshire, its petals glowing in the soft morning sun. The music fades, leaving only one whisper, Vivian's voice, tender and resolute. I believe in second chances. And then silence.